and he's deliberately kept that quite sort of small scale so that he can pick up the slack with the children. And we got to a point where we were considering whether I would actually have to give up work because after-tax income actually, it was just a real struggle to make it all work. And we found we were constantly foxing and sort of changing our arrangements all the time, which obviously, inconsistency in childcare just makes it really hard for work. So it's been really tricky.
So would you mind telling us how much do you have coming in as a family and how much are you spending, so a month, and how much are you spending on childcare?
So we were spending between £1,300 and £1,400 a month on my daughter's nursery fees, and I'm just above the £500,000 threshold for the 15-hour childcare.
So that's you earn just over 100,000 between you, is that right?
Well, that's me.
Just you?
So, yeah, and I suppose it's, without going too much into my personal details, I'm also a member of a family partnership. So I get ascribed profit from that, but I don't actually see the 100,000 back into the business. So it's tricky from that point of view, because I was just saying before, it's sort of, oh, well, that's a first world problem, you're earning loads of money, so suck it up. But as someone was saying before on the program, it just don't work. Well, those are skills that you're losing, that's money that you're losing into the economy. I spent 20-25 years building up a career where I really want to input, but I just I don't know how to do it and keep my children going. And I think that's, it's calibrated all wrong in that sense.
So what would you like to change?
Well, I think, first of all, some kind of change in the tax system so that we're not having to fund all of this tax income without any help, or and also this difference in the funding that means I don't know it hasn't been probably clearly set out for people who don't know, but essentially if you earn over £100,000, one of the two partners in the parents, then you're only eligible for the 15 hours free childcare once your child hits 3. So you've got to fund up until 3. And in our family, that's very unequal. So you could have two parents who earn 99.999, and they've obviously got a lot more to play with, and they would get with free childcare, the extra free childcare. In our family, we are not eligible for that because I've just tipped over the threshold, even though my husband's actually earning much less. So I think that's a real disparity that needs to be looked at, because it makes it really hard for families like ours.
Jacqueline, thanks for explaining that. Thank you. What are childcare services like in your area? Give us a call, 03700 100 444. Kim Allison is in Sunderland, and she runs a childcare company. It's called Cheeky Chimps. So, Kim, tell us what pressures there are then on you, because we've had a number of callers talking about these top-up fees where nurseries are charging extra because the government payment is only for the childcare, and the government has said it's fine to charge families for extra things, nappies, food, outings, etc.
Yes. Yes, I'm on Cheeky Chimps Childcare, and I was actually part of the news presentation when this budget was announced 12 months ago, and we've been given a very short window of time to plan and to get ready for the government expansion. Obviously, it came out in the announcement a year ago, but that's the only amount of time that we've had to plan for the extra staffing that we're going to need. And obviously things like the extra floor space. So there's a lot of red tape when it comes to childcare. One of the things being ratios. Now at that time, the government announced that they were going to increase the staff to child ratio to ensure that there was going to be those spaces available. But what they haven't considered is the impact that's going to have on children accessing early education, the impact that's going to have on children with additional needs.
So tell me that again, Kim. They have reduced they've reduced the staff to child ratio so that nurseries will be able to cope with this sudden expansion.
Yeah, and some nurseries have chosen to do that, and that's well within their rights. And then other settings like myself have outright refused to do that. So our ratios stay at 1 to 4. so, you know, the funding that we're getting, national minimum wage is rising in April. So I need nursery children just to cover. We're in Sunderland, it's one of the lower paid areas for childcare, and this is some of the costs that some of the other people are having to pay. But in our area, I have nursery children just to cover their staff wage. And that's not taking into account, you know, your insurances, your waste management, your resources, your providers I can bring in. But yeah, the funding pretty much just covers the care analysis. Anything else above that isn't covered, not by a long shot. And the only way a provider is going to come close to remaining sustainable is if they increase their ratios. And unfortunately, you know, the likes of school nurseries, they have much higher ratios because they have a qualified early years teacher in there. So you can go into a school nursery and you could have 16 3-year-olds to one member of staff. And I just think at that age they need a lot more care, a lot more support. And I'm just very concerned that the needs of the children aren't going to be able to be met based on this expansion. We've just not been given enough time. 12 months from the announcement, and then we were probably told about a month ago what our rates were going to be. I've been frantically trying to recruit. I've got waiting lists. I'm turning people away. Again, red tape, but I can't increase my staffing over a certain amount of staff per day. Trying to recruit is very difficult in itself. The government has brought out a new childcare scheme where if you join the early years workforce, and you'll have seen that a lot on the radio and on the TV recently.
Yes,
you know, the
Golden Hello.
benefit.
Is that right? It's the little Golden Hello of £1,000?
Yes. But the problem being that to so much as qualify someone to be able to do this job, it's a huge responsibility that we have. You know, we're not just singing nursery rhymes and reading stories all day, and just to get somebody experienced and qualified. And if they get it done, it's 18 months.
Okay, stay on the line. I just want to stop you to bring in Halima Tanuku. She is the Chief Executive of the National Day Nurseries Association, and we put a call out to her. She's also answering on now. And Halima, thanks so much. What do you think of what Kim has said? You know, I asked her about the pressures on providers. She's running a nursery in Sunderland.
I think that those pressures are absolutely, true across England, and in fact indeed across UK. I think, when we carried out the survey, when we asked nurses in terms of what their challenges are, top 3 challenges are staffing, funding, and of course supporting children with special educational needs.
I want to come on to that.
3 key challenges.
Yeah, because this report today from the Children's Charity Quorum, it points to a particular shortage of places for children with disabilities.
Can I please?
Sorry, Kim, did you want to answer that?
Can I just interject there? We are in our inclusive setting, and we're quite well known in the area for our support for being specialist provision. And unfortunately, it's going to promote indirect discrimination because nurseries are having to survive, and they're having to increase their ratios in order to remain open. Children that need that more input and more support are going to the end of it, but they're going to end up being pushed out of settings. Most of the children in my setting have been to 2 providers before coming to me, and that's it's only going to exacerbate that problem. It's only going to make it worse because nurseries are just trying to keep their doors open. They're just trying to remain open, and unfortunately, what's happened is that a huge divide has been made between the parents and the providers. And I know you had someone speaking to yourself from President Scrooge on earlier, and that divide has just been made larger because of the lack of information the government are sharing in regards to what position they're actually putting us in. And then when we're speaking to parents and we're getting inquiries and we're trying to support, we're having to give the more accurate information. And it looks as if we're just doing this because we want to make a huge profit when what we're actually trying to do is just keep our doors open and provide high quality education and care for all children. And what I'm really scared about is that we are going to fail more and more SEND children in a system that's already very, very broken.
Thank you, that's a point very well made. Pernilla, can I just ask you something? The government's response to this claim that the places are underfunded. The hourly rate paid by the government rose last year and is rising again next month. It's going to be £5.88 an hour for a 3 to 4 year old, £8.28 an hour for a 2-year-old, £11.22 an hour for someone under 2. Now the government says the national average rates paid by the government now, this is in England, for new entitlements have been independently confirmed by the Institute for Fiscal Studies and are well above market rates. What do you say to that?
Well, the funding rate are average funding rate, but if you look at what local authorities are passing on to providers, even with the kind of criteria of passing on 95%, for example, on 2-year-olds, some local authorities have actually cut their funding rates. So these funding rates are really what they've announced are average funding rates, and we know every local authority is different, so not all the money is being passed on. But of course, one of the biggest issues here is, yes, with the expansion, the government has announced new funding rates, but the chronic funding, underfunding means that the funding rate never kept pace with any living wage or minimum wage increases, cost of living increases, any other increases over the years. This is since 2017. So that's why we ended up in a situation, for example, in our survey, providers are losing £2.36 per hour for 3 and 4-year-olds per child, and £1.69 per hour for 2-year-olds. So these are what the costs we are not actually able to cover, because this way the minimum wage has gone up, and the salary bill this year is going to be 40%, and all other increases have gone up as well. So just because they've announced these funding rates does not mean these funding rates actually cover the full cost.
But Kim mentioned Jolie Greeley, the founder of Pregnant Then Screwed. She's still on the line listening to this conversation. Jolie, this is something that you have also raised in your research, this shortage of places for children with disabilities. You also offer mothers free legal advice. Do you have any legal entitlement as the parent of a child with a disability to a nursery place or not?
No, you don't have a legal entitlement, and as we've seen, only 6% of local authorities in England say they have enough provision for children with SEND. And the reason why we have such low provision is because the funding rates are really low, and the application process for that funding is so complicated that 92% of providers have had to fund additional support out of their own pockets or core budget. So the pressure being put on nurseries when it comes to children with SEND is so astronomical that ultimately, it just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. So sadly, no, there is no legal entitlement to those places, but it's so imperative we get this right.
But even where there is a legal entitlement, for example, to a school place, a lot of the parents of disabled children are just told there is no place.
Well, they are, and they're also, even if they're using those places, we know that it isn't working for them. So there are a large proportion of children with special educational needs who are now out of the education system because it just simply is not working. It is a one-size-fits-all, and it doesn't work for children with SEND.
Can I just add one point to
please,
on the legal requirements? The local authorities under the Child Care Act have a duty to provide childcare for any parent who requires it. So whether that is actually children with special education needs or any other children.
Childcare, so a nursery place, you think, a legal requirement?
Local authorities have a sufficiency duty. Yeah. And what happens, of course, with children with special education needs is that the providers will have to fully meet the needs of that child under the legal obligations, because when often coming within the nursery, what they will be looking at is whether that child's needs are fully met. Now, if the provider does not feel that they cannot meet those needs because of some of the needs one-to-one care, or because they don't have sufficient resources, and most importantly, the local authority funding is not covering that. And that's why providers are having to make a very difficult decision of not being able to provide more places for children with special education needs. And that's the biggest challenge, because in some cases, cases, local authorities say, well, you need to provide this care, but by the way, we can only offer you 10 hours or something, when that child is actually entitled to 15 hours or something.
Leila, Kim, I'll let you go to put some parents on hold. Thank you so much, a really useful insight. What are childcare services like in your area? Give us a call, 03700 444. Jake Franklin is in Essex and Alice is in Surrey. And Jake, tell us about your situation.
Yeah, so it was actually, my wife was only 3 months pregnant when one of her colleagues at work said, oh, have you sorted out a nursery place yet? And she laughed, and then she came over to me and I laughed. We were like, the baby's not even born yet. But we made a few phone calls, and sure enough, we did a bit of research, and our favourite nursery was fully booked until September this year. So we ended up looking at a different nursery, which started yesterday actually. Yeah, it's just the availability was poor, and then the pricing was just, since we booked it, which was December 2022, to now, the prices have gone up as well. So even though you've got planning about what you want to spend, it's changed by the time you get there.
So this is your baby that I can hear in the background. How old is he?
Oh no, that's not the other one, but no.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's Alice. Sorry, that's Alice's baby over here. Your son's at nursery. How does it affect you as a family, Jake?
Well, so what we've ended up doing is changing my wife. My wife was working full time, 5 days a week. But now she's going to be going. She goes back next week to work, and she's going to do working 3 days. We're doing 3 long days, so 3 10-hour days.
Yeah.
And then he's at nursery 2 days, and my mother-in-law will look after him 1 day to try and bring the cost down and make it cost effective for my wife to go back to work. But we want my wife to go back to work so we can hopefully get a mortgage this year. So it's a big juggling act of trying to earn money to live and then trying to keep costs down and make it all worthwhile. We didn't have our mother-in-law helping, and my wife wasn't doing longer days rather than a normal 8-hour day. It's almost, it probably wouldn't be worthwhile going back to work.
Do you think people prepare for it, Jake? Do you think people understand it?
I think I went in a bit blind at the actual cost of it. Now obviously they've got the new cost, 15 hours free. We won't get that till September this year, and then it'll go up to 30 hours for September the following year. So once that comes in, it will be a lot more valuable for us, and it will bring our child cost down extremely low, almost to nothing. We'll come up to 30 hours because we're only doing 2 days a week. But until that point, it's about £550 a month, which is a big chunk of money.
Of course it is.
With all the other costs, at the moment. So yeah, it definitely, might be our mistake for not thinking about it. But you just sort of, it's one of those things you think it's a bill you've got to pay.
Well, I think if you thought about having children long and hard, you probably wouldn't do it because there's never a great time to do it, is there? But let's bring Alice in. Alice, tell us about your circumstances.
Hi, Winifred. So I've got 2 children. My son is almost 3 and my daughter is 9 months. And my son is currently at nursery that my daughter will be joining in May. But my husband is serving army, so we move house every 18 months for 2 years to a completely new area. So your previous caller was mentioning about people getting on waiting lists when they're pregnant. And that's very difficult for us because we don't know where we're going to be. And in our last posting, it was quite a remote area. There weren't that many nurseries, and by the time we got there, you really want a nursery, they're full of people who've been on the waiting list month to month. So it was very difficult to find a solution for us. But fortunately, we were able to get a childminder and we had family help at our last posting. But then that only lasted for so long, and then we had to move again. So you have to completely rethink and replan everything. So we moved to Surrey in August last year. We had to have a break in childcare over the summer, and thankfully I was on maternity leave, so I was able to look after my son. But
we're now too far to have regular family help. My parents do live locally, but they both work, so they're not able to help on a weekly basis. And my husband's away a lot with this job, so I've now had to come up with a solution that means that I can work and sort of still manage it all on my own.
Oh, Alice. What is the solution, Lee? How will you work and manage it all on your own?
So nursery that my son is currently at offer we have a priority system for siblings, so it was relatively easy to get my daughter a space.
Well, just as you've been talking, we've got lots of messages coming in about this shortage of places. This one from Rose. I'm returning to work 3 days a week from next month. There is no childcare available in my area until September, so my mum is going to commute from Suffolk to Devon each week to provide care for us. What a great mum. And Claire Rees-Miller from Lincolnshire says, I own and run a large nursery. Due to funding, we're now fully booked until mid-2025. It's heartbreaking to have to turn people away, letting our community down. But as we struggle to get qualified staff, we can't afford to pay them decent wages. It becomes impossible. I have 3 graduates earning 10p above the minimum wage. It seems so wrong when they could work as teachers and earn a starting wage of 30,000. So yes, obviously this question of shortage of places, Alice, you feel it keenly, having to move so often.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to say, the nursery workers are incredible, and we're so grateful for what they do, and especially the weeks where I'm on my own, and it's amazing to be able to drop my son off at a place that he loves so much, and where they give him so much stimulation, but it's hard and it comes at a high cost. I might make a tiny bit of money when I go back to work, but the vast majority of it's got to go on childcare, unfortunately.
Alice, Jake, thanks so much. We've got 2 more callers on the line. We've got Camilla in London and Louise in Cumbria. And Louise, you are a grandparent, as I understand it.
Hi, Winifred.
Hi,
yes,
yeah.
I am a grandparent. Hello. We have twin grandsons of 5, and they also have a little daughter of 2, and our younger daughter has a daughter of 1. I think I'm just about to make myself the most unpopular grandparent in the whole of the UK, actually, because when the girls were married and thinking about having families, we made it perfectly clear that we would be wonderful grandparents, on hand should we be needed, but neither my husband nor I wanted to be tied to regular childcare. I just think people that do that are angels. We have worked hard all our lives, 7 days a week in the hospitality industry, and it's time for us to have a bit of freedom, and I didn't want to be tied down. I do understand how difficult it is, but why do people have more than one child if they're going to struggle? I'm an only child. You're probably thinking, well, that's obvious, you sound terribly selfish.
No, I'm totally not judging you, and I do understand that feeling when you've raised your own family and you've worked very hard, and then you reach a point where you're looking forward to a bit of time together, and suddenly you're a full-time carer for your grandchildren. I do get that. That is hard.
I honestly take my hat off, because I adore our grandchildren, but they are exhausting. Had we been grandparents in our 50s, it might have been a different story, but in your 70s, you're a bit old and cranky. So we love having them, but boy, are we glad to wave them off when they go. And I think there's quite a few people out there who think the same as I do.
Do you think it's created a strain, Louise? Sorry to interrupt with your kids. Has it made any atmosphere then? No. Well, that's fine. At least they understand.
No. We are very fortunate. Our elder daughter is married to a pilot, and she's a stay-at-home mum with her 3 children. And she always said, Mum, it makes me really cross. People say, do I work? And I say, yes, I do work. I stay at home working, looking after 3 children, actually. Yeah. Our younger daughter, her little girl has just turned 1, and she's in nursery 4 days a week at £70 a day. jolly expensive. She works from home in Cumbria for a London company who are incredibly understanding. She travels down to London twice a month. We have the dogs actually, and her husband stays at home and juggles childcare around that. I do wonder, Winfried, listening to this, when I gave up work when I had our children, I was actually a catering manager. You can't be a part-time catering manager. And I actually started a business making curtains, and later I did bed and breakfast. Now, I know
Just that housing costs are so much more now, Louise, aren't they, than they were in your day?
They are. They are in my day, thanks Winifred.
No, in my day too.
Know,
I'm a similar age to you. You know, housing costs were much less when I was young.
I know. And I do understand that, honestly. But we swapped. Two of my dearest friends, one was a geologist, one was a teacher, and we swapped and we looked after each other's children while the other went to work. Is that not an option?
Well, I guess parents are doing that all the time, aren't they? As we've been hearing, you know, they box and cocks, don't they? They're very creative. Louise, thanks so much anyway. Yeah, and for being so honest. Thank you. Let me just fit Camilla in before we go, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. Camilla, tell us about your situation.
Yes, so I have a lovely just 2-year-old, and I live in southwest London. So I'm the sort of higher breadwinner in our family. My husband is self-employed, so quite similar to one of your earlier callers. And we're at the point where we'd love to have another child. But the fact is that if my current childminder, who is fantastic, is £95 a day out of post-tax income. Now, on an annual basis, 50 weeks a year, that comes out as to £22,000 a year.
Such a lot, such a lot of money.
Exactly, and you up that to, I mean, that doesn't take into account 3 hours, but 3 hours, as you heard, doesn't necessarily happen. And you're looking at sort of £45,000 post-tax income. Now, I've just run the numbers, and that equates to £65,000 one salary. And, you know, I'm lucky to just about be in the position that we can do that, but we're not in a position basically to do anything else. And I think my sort of complaint, position is that I think the tax cliff once you get to 100,000 sounds like a great number, but it doesn't take into account very expensive childcare, cost of living, and the fact that mortgage rates are going to come up. We're lucky that we managed to buy our own house, but we're coming to the end of a fixed term.
Camilla, I'll have to jump in because we're just virtually out of time, but thank you so much for getting in touch. You made that point really well. You're living in London, your wages might be high, but all your costs are high as well. That's it for today. Thank you everyone who got in touch, and thanks to Jolie Briley, the founder of Pregnant Then Screwed, for being with us throughout the programme. Tomorrow, fewer people are buying push bikes. We'll find out why. And will a new type of mortgage that's undercutting the rest of the market persuade more people to buy a new build? It'll be Peter White here tomorrow, same time, just after the midday news. Thanks for listening today. Call You and Yours was produced by